Welcome back to STEM in the Gap, where we attempt to bridge the gap between the majority and minority in STEM fields. Today, we have a very special guest, Carolina Alarco, who is here to speak about upon her experience in her field. So, why don't you give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Winston. And thanks for having me in this podcast.
Yeah.
I have been in biotech in Boston for about 30 years now.
Wow,
Started
30.
in biotech in the 90s when biotech was an emerging industry. And now it's quite a mature industry. It's become mixed with biopharma or pharmaceutical. We call it
Mm,
biopharma. And yeah, after 30 years, I've done a lot of projects, built a couple of companies, and I'm
wow.
still doing consulting in the space.
So, in a way, would you call yourself like an investor, like an advocate for diversity in a way?
Yeah, I'm actually more of an entrepreneur, and also I became an
Entrepreneur. Okay.
investor a little later on in my career.
Okay. So you've definitely had more like a lot of leadership roles across like major biotech companies, startups, and consulting things of that nature. What first sparked your interest into science and business, and how did that path begin for you?
So that's interesting. I studied business administration, so I don't come from a scientific background by training.
Hmm.
I studied business administration, and then I did a master's here in Boston
Wow.
and in international business actually.
Uh-huh.
But I've always liked science and I've always
Hmm.
liked medicine and drug development. So I got into after my master's, I got into biotech, which was a new emerging industry.
Hmm.
Before my master's, I had worked at Abbott Laboratories. Abbott is a big pharmaceutical company, and
Yeah.
I worked 4 years at Abbott before my master's. And then after that, I wanted to stay in the industry, and I discovered that biotech was an emerging field, and it really, really sparked my interest. And I joined a company called Genzyme, which was one of the pioneering biotech companies.
Hmm.
Let's say at the same time that Google was emerging in tech,
Hmm.
Genzyme was emerging in biotech, if you will.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I was a early employee at Genzyme, and then I stayed there for 15 years.
Wow.
I
15.
started as a marketing coordinator, and I ended up
Mhm.
being vice president of international. So
Wow.
it was a
That's
great
amazing.
journey. The company grew from about 100 people when I joined with one product to about 10,000 people, 40
Hmm.
products in 80 countries around the world.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah,
How
so
did
it was a
you
great. Mhm.
I feel like business and science, so that's two very like different fields. Like oftentimes you don't really see like them merging too much, but how did you find your interest in business and your love for science? How did you merge that into find a career that you felt satisfied with?
It was exactly because of that I joined biotechnology. I thought it was a great intersection between science, which the company was formed and started by PhDs, basically, so
Hmm.
scientific people with scientific background. But I feel that the scientists need the business side in order to
Okay.
build a startup and make it a company and make it a successful company, because
Okay.
you need finance, you need human resources, you need marketing, you need
Hmm.
commercial people, you need legal, all kinds of expertise. So a good company actually has people from all functions. So it needs to be cross functional.
Wow. Was there like any you seem your career, your choice, it seems very like, diverse or in a way complex and it has a lot to it. Was there any way in like your career that you felt there was like a setback or like a challenge? Or was there any a point in career where like you felt like you doubted yourself and how did you push through that?
Yeah, well, it's never a straight line, right? Like the
Yeah, of
road to
course.
success has many turns and many pivots and many challenges. But I think that when you take each of the challenges as a lesson to be better, to become better, to maybe to polish certain aspects of either your
Hmm.
personality, your attitude, your knowledge, if you take those challenges head on and try to let's say overcome those challenges, right?
Hmm.
I think that that's the way to success, really. I think
Wow.
that if people think that life is easy, well, it's not. It,
Yeah,
you
100%.
know, exactly, that the more difficult it is, the more challenging it gets, the more you need to be motivated to do better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like in a way, do you ever feel like that kind of risk in like the way you're pushing through things, it's rewarding, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. Being an entrepreneur, and then, well, after Genzyme, I went on to start two other biotech companies with former Genzyme colleagues, and we took both
Hmm.
companies public, and then we exited. Um, it takes a lot of courage, and
Courage.
I
Okay.
would say, kids need to be fearless and take
Hmm.
risks. Of course, calculated risks, educated risks, but taking risks is really what brings you to newer and better things. And people
Mm,
need to take risks too, especially if you're an entrepreneur and if you choose the career to be an entrepreneur. In science, scientists take risk all the time,
all
right?
the
Not
time. Yep.
always. Yeah, a lot of times, things that were supposed to pan out one way. I mean, the experiments just prove it wrong, and
Hmm.
and sometimes it's also a lot of success when actually you get proof of concept, and if things turn out the way you thought, it's very rewarding. It's a rewarding
Yeah.
opportunity or experience. So both ways, you need to look at things both ways, right?
Yeah.
Taking risks, and sometimes it's going to be great and sometimes it's not. So when it's not so great, you just need to continue to forge ahead. Hmm.
Okay. So I know that biotech is like a very competitive like industry. Would you say that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How would
There's
you
a lot of.
balance? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Do you want to keep going?
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, biotech is very complex, very competitive,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot of IQ. You need to be constantly learning and studying new technologies, emerging technologies, emerging systems, emerging platforms to be successful. And
Hmm.
I think it takes a lot of IQ, but also EQ. You need to
AQ.
navigate
Okay. Yeah.
with emotional intelligence. You need to navigate, circumstances like working in teams and collaboration, and working cross functionally. Both are very important, but it is very complex. Yes. Hmm.
All right. You know, as you say that, how would you balance that confidence that you've had, but always like keeping open to learn? Like, I know that it's like a very high stake environment, and there's obviously some uncertainty within your decisions. How do you stay confident within that? Like, how do you make decisions that are thorough? And like you said, because it is a complex environment, how would you like um, stay put and feel confident within your answers and your decisions?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is knowing what you don't know, right?
Hmm.
And understanding that no one can really know it all, so that you have to work with others that bring in their experiences, their cultural background, their knowledge to the table, and always be open to listening and to learning, right?
Hmm.
um, I think that listening is extremely important, especially when you're listening to people that have a lot more experience than you do.
Hmm.
And I think that that helped me a lot in my career. Listening, having great mentors, having mentors that were basically teaching me or transferring their knowledge from different from areas that were not my expertise, and that really helped me a lot.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do think that like lessons, like learning, a lot of people I feel like when they come out of college, if they're full of confidence or things, and sometimes they don't want to really listen. And I think that's what causes them like a lot of jobs and stuff like that because they're not, coach. They're, we call it like non-coachable, not willing to listen and really just learn because they have their own way of living. And I think that's a very essential skill for the youth. You learn in school, but you have to learn in life. Like you said, something like biotech takes a lot of EQ. And in order to build that EQ, you have to go through social interactions and be able to be wary and have to listen. So I think that's a very important takeaway that I've heard from your answer. So, from my knowledge, that you're a co-founder of Latinos in Bio, am I right?
Hmm. Yes.
So, why was it important for you to create more representation in the life science department?
Yeah, so at a certain point in my career, after many, many years of experience, I was able to do things that did not generate income, right? So a
Yeah.
lot more volunteering, and you
Hmm.
feel like giving back. And looking back at the early years of my career, I noticed that there was a lack of representation of Latinos in the
100%.
industry.
Yeah.
So, for example, Latinos are about 20% of the US population, but they are less than
Hmm.
12% of the workforce in biotech. And when you
Wow.
look at management, it's less than 3%. When you look at boards, it's less than 2% are
Yeah.
of board members in the industry are Latinos. So I thought, we needed to do something about it, and we needed to generate an environment where Latinos would feel comfortable looking at biotechnology as an industry where they could work, and also dispel the myth that you needed to be a PhD to work in biotech. That
Yeah.
we needed to communicate that there are a lot of different roles and functions to do in the biotechnology industry. Like, of course, if you're a scientist, it's very natural to be looking at biotech. But also, if
Hmm.
you are in legal, if you are in finance, if you are in marketing, if you are in administration, there is room for people to be working in those things in the
Yeah.
biotech industry. And that's something that we wanted to communicate with Latinos in bio.
Hmm.
And we wanted to not only welcome more Latinos to the industry, but also make sure that those that are already working, and they are professionals in the industry, that they take their careers all the way to the leadership positions, all the way to the top, to the
Yeah.
C-suite and to the board, so that they make sure to open doors to other Latinos.
Wow. That's such an inspiring story. Like, I don't know. I kind of have like that. I mean, it's like similar. I think we have like the same or like a similar goal in mind with the podcast as well as the your your program and such. Do you ever think that, why do you think diversity matters in STEM? Not just socially, but for innovation or better solutions.
Yeah, exactly. So innovation happens where a lot of different points of view um, converge, right? So,
Hmm.
diversity of thought, diversity of opinions, diversity of backgrounds and experiences, I think, make better decisions
Hmm.
in all of the companies, and especially the workforce needs to reflect the people that you're serving. Like if we are
Yeah.
serving patients that are obviously, let's say, the US population or the global population,
Hmm.
you will better serve them if you have a diverse team that can
Yeah.
understand where those patients or physicians are coming from, and their background, etc. If you don't have that diversity in house, it's going to be very difficult for you to reach out to
Yeah.
those populations. Mhm.
100%. If I had to like, I think in a way, if I had to reflect on my own idea, like, you never know. Like, it's hard to, can I put this? But in a way, like, if you only are group or state selected in like your own in the majority, right? Mostly white and white and Asian folk, especially in that STEM industry, you never know what could be beyond, black and Hispanics. You never know. There could be like a genius or like just a different perspective and input that you'll never be able to assess or be able to access because they're underrepresented. They don't really know what's happening. They don't find an interest in STEM. And especially Latinos, because I feel like they're not really fully aware, because of their own backgrounds. I know people at me personally, when I go to high school, a lot of my friends, they kind of steer away from STEM. They're almost like, oh, I don't want to seem STEM because I have to get, like you said before, the PhD thing. Oh, I have to go to school for a PhD and I have to do all this work. And, I'm not saying this is for everybody. However, I can understand why it's needed to be in our community and also in that industry. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of misconceptions, that
yeah,
we need to really clarify, and Latinos need to think about generating generational wealth. And
yeah,
by staying away from complex industries, that's not a path, right? Like if you are only going to
yeah,
stay in hospitality and restaurants, or mini micro businesses and things like that. I mean,
Hmm.
that's all good if you want to go that route. But if you think of yourself as somebody that could potentially bring generational wealth to your family, I think that you need to think about getting into more complex industries, even if
Hmm.
not from the science side or the technical side. You can get into the
Hmm.
industry again if you are in finance, in
Yeah.
legal, in any other functions. Mhm.
I feel like in a way you could also kind of portray them as like, um you can, in a way, those like common misconceptions can weigh them down, because you never know, like oftentimes that can like, you know, belittle their own intelligence. You know, they maybe they want to, like you said before, be stuck in those hospitality, those micro businesses. But what if they want to be greater? They want to achieve more. You know, what if they're capable of, owning a whole biotech firm? And that is something that, is needed, that kind of representation within both communities, in order to, get that full potential for, providing for the greater good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Latinos and minorities need to think big. Minorities
Yeah.
are now minorities, but they're gonna become majorities soon.
Yeah.
And the United
Hopefully.
States is gonna need these folks to think bigger.
Hmm.
And I know these conversations don't happen necessarily in the kitchen table of those households,
Yeah.
but for kids that are going to high school to college, they need to think big. And if they don't find
100%.
the support in their family or in their, maybe they are the first time high school graduates or first time college
Yeah.
students in their
Hmm.
families. So they need to find mentors that could provide them that broader view of,
Yeah.
of
100%.
opportunity. Hmm.
If you had to say one thing from students from underrepresented backgrounds who may feel like they don't really belong in that STEM space, like the people I mentioned before, what would you want them to hear?
I would say you belong. You
You
belong
belong. Okay.
everywhere. It's just a matter of ambition. It's just a matter
Hmm.
of thinking big, and again, having a plan and a strategy to get to where you want to go. Don't let
Hmm.
people tell you that you can't. I think that it's better when you think that you can do it. A lot of
Hmm.
people have done it, and organizations like Latinos in Bio can definitely help you with crafting a strategy to go into a career in the biotech industry. Mhm.
Wow. I feel like what the work that you are doing is so inspiring, and I feel like in a way, if someone, like an example, like you said, like maybe your targeted represented or your targeted group that you are trying to, get people into STEM and that biotech, right? Let's say like an average Latino high schooler comes to you, and if you tell them that story, I feel like in a way, they would be inspired. They're like, "Oh, I'm beyond this. I'm beyond that. I'm greater for potential." Do you think that, it's more of a thing of outreach, or do you think it's more of something that, it's their own skills,
I think it's more an issue of mindset,
mindset?
right?
Okay.
Mindset. I think that we need to shift our mindset, and young
Mm-hmm.
people need to think bigger and need to think that they can and stop putting obstacles in front of them, because
Mm-hmm.
this country offers a myriad of opportunities, and you just need to go get it.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not easy. You need to put a lot of effort and a lot of work into
Mm-hmm.
it. I feel like the younger generations are less prone to having
Yeah.
to appreciating hard work, but
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna appreciate hard work at some point in their lives. And
Yeah.
I think that if you want to live the easy way, then later in life you're gonna pay for it. If you start and put the effort up front, and you take you do hard work and you put in the effort when you're
Mm-hmm.
young, later on in life you can enjoy it. Mhm.
Yeah. Like this kind of takes me back to what we were talking about before, about like the motivation aspect and just rewarding. Like I feel like if people just put a little bit more effort, like it doesn't have to be drastic, because a lot of, obviously, those, like the hospitality stuff and the restaurant, it does take effort, right? We're not trying to belittle that at any means. But if you just put a little bit more effort into what you want to do and what you find interested, you can go beyond what you thought in your, in your wildest dreams. So this kind of concludes me to my next question. Like, what kind of changes do you think that need to happen for not just biotech but STEM careers, and make how can you make that more accessible for everybody, not just the Latinos or not just the the common folk, just for everybody in general.
I think that high schools need to do a better job introducing students to advanced technologies, not just
Mm,
STEM. I think STEM is kind of like an old term.
yeah,
Just
100%.
advanced technologies, right? So AI, biotechnology, space tech. I just don't think that like professors are talking about space tech. Space tech is
Yeah,
going to be the future, right? There's a lot of momentum now with the recent trip around the moon,
yeah.
but I think that space tech is going to be an excellent field to get into right now because it's going to be
Hmm.
emerging and it's going to be expanding now that SpaceX is going public some point in the next 3 months or so. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of capital available to fund space tech initiatives, and there is a lot of intersection between biotech and space, for example, that I'm now
Mm,
working on. So I
hmm.
think that professors need to be a little bit more of the
Informed.
newest,
Okay.
informed of the newest trends, and talk to students about the newest trends. I think that the last new trend that came into high schools was robotics, which is all good,
Robotics. Yeah.
there are so many other aspects of the
Yeah.
sciences and the technology that they need to keep up. They need to keep up. They
Yeah.
are worried about other things that have nothing to do with the future of their students. They
Yeah.
should really, pivot and talk about the things that are important for the future of the students.
Hmm. One thing that I wanted to pick at was, and from my own experience, was the use of AI. I think AI, in a way, obviously, yes, it can be used to cheat and stuff like that in schools, and that's why I feel like schools kind of sheer away from that. But AI is I feel like I talked to this with Gavin actually. I feel like AI is our future. A lot of I tell him all the time, like, you better work the job now because I feel like AI in 25 years is going to take over your the crew member job at Dunkin' Donuts. So it's so essential and key for kids and students to be just and aware of those, like you said, the SpaceX stuff, or even just AI in general, because it's the future of our country and the future of the world. Imagine, and if that's not taught in the beginning of time, how will they ever know in the future? And like you said before, even colleges and even professors shy away from that. So how can you truly be enlightened about all that technology that is being in front of you, and allowing you to be inspired, allowing you to be motivated for what you want in the future, when students are not students but teachers and professors sheer away from that technology? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I don't think we need to shy away from any technology, right? Like when I
Yeah.
was your age, the internet seemed to be taking over the world and everybody was going to lose their jobs. However, now
Hmm.
we know that is a tool. It's a really
Hmm.
important tool for people to do their work, right? And
Hmm.
jobs are going to be changing, and whoever does not implement AI within whatever they are doing, their tasks, their day to day, they're going to be missing out. They're really going
Yeah,
to be missing out.
100%.
I think it is another tool, and it is a very important tool, very powerful tool. The compute power is going to be amazing, and
Hmm.
it can only help humanity. And we need to make sure to integrate it into what we're doing, so
Yeah.
that we do things better, right? Because it
Okay.
really was
Yeah.
created for the betterment of humanity. So
Hmm.
that's how we need to keep it and incorporate it into what we're doing, right? Like
Yeah.
I think in the future, it's not going to be called cheating if you use AI for schoolwork. You're going
Hmm.
to be using it in a way that school grading and the tasks that you need to do or homework is going to have to change, because
Yeah.
AI is going to have to do the job of AI, and the student is going to have to do a different job, maybe something that
Yeah.
requires a little bit more
Critical
in-depth
thinking.
analysis, or
Yeah.
more intuitive analysis, if you
Hmm.
will, or interpretation of the
Hmm.
results that AI is providing, or even fixing the results from AI. Because let me tell you, it makes mistakes. It still
Yeah.
has a lot of hallucinations and makes a lot of mistakes.
Hmm.
So the human eye is of course gonna have to be required there,
Yeah.
but to me it's gonna be another tool to make our lives easier, better, and our jobs better as well. Mhm.
Yeah. kind of going off of what you had to say, like I feel like this is also what you say in the future with the use of AI in the in education systems. I feel like it also could benefit people. Those kind of interpretation skills and the critical thinking and the analysis skills that you brought up upon. You don't really assess or really build those skills until you go into the workforce. And I feel like allowing giving that kids those chance to build those skills early on can benefit them in the future 100%, especially if they're going into a complex industry like biotech or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, in 5 to 10 years, not using AI for almost everything is going to be unimaginable. You
Yeah.
know, I think inevitably we're going to see that AI becomes a part of the day to day life, like the internet is now. When I was your
Mhm.
age, we had our first Blackberries. Like iPhone
Oh,
wasn't even
what?
yeah, iPhone wasn't even a
That's
thing.
crazy.
So when I
Uh,
entered the workforce, I forget about it. We didn't have an iPhone or anything like that. We
mhm.
couldn't get email in our mobile
What?
device.
That's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yes,
Oh,
only for calls. And,
yeah.
things are evolving. And if you don't evolve
Mhm.
with the technology, then you stay behind as a human. So I feel that professors should embrace all the technological advances and encourage students to use them for good use, of course, right? But
Yeah.
they should encourage students to leverage all those tools. Mhm.
Yeah. The use of AI and things of that nature is kind of one of the bigger conflicts within education and stuff like that, as well as STEM. What kind of big problems in the world do you think the next generation of STEM leaders would solve?
So the next generation is definitely going to be using a lot of AI for, in STEM in
Yep.
particular, for drug discovery, discovery of new
Yeah.
molecules, design of new molecules, design of therapies. We can even, design cures, if you will, with AI in the future. And the more data that we generate and the more power
Hmm.
the AI tools will have, then the better it's going to be to accelerate drug delivery, discovery, etc. I think that
Hmm.
we're going to solve diseases, and I think we're going to use a lot more bioinformatics, if you will, to design different therapies and different therapeutics. And
Hmm.
that's going to be really beneficial to all patients around the world. So hopefully, both doctors and scientists put AI to good use. Mhm.
Yeah, 100%. Now, kind of reflecting off of your own career, like out of everything that you have accomplished, out of everything in your entire career, what are you most proud of and why?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I think that each of the companies that I've been a part of building, and that we're bringing innovative therapies to patients around the world, I think that's the most fulfilling part of my career in biotech.
Hmm.
Besides that, going IPO and
Yeah.
exiting is pretty cool and economically is wonderful. I think that the best feeling I had is when we actually brought a therapeutic to patients. And what I
Wow.
when I saw patients stand up from wheelchairs after using our therapies
Oh my gosh.
for
Wow.
a few months, that was the most satisfying part of my
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, like that even comes back to the rewarding factor, like, seeing, people get the help that they need. I think, especially if you have that, empathetic mindset or heart, like it's definitely rewarding and it just warms your heart every time in to think that like, oh, I was a part of this. I was the master at hand who helped do this, and it's just so inspirational. Like your story in itself, I don't mean to compliment you too much, but your story itself
Mhm.
is so inspirational. I was reading about you, doing the questions and stuff like that. It was really, something that I took shock of, and I was so inspired to keep pushing, keep moving forward.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Winston.
Okay.
That's really nice of
Um,
you. But also, stay humble, right? Stay
yeah, of
humble
course.
and continue to, put your knowledge and your experience. Like, for
Hmm.
example, right now I'm very generous with my time. Like when somebody wants to
Yeah.
talk about, their career, or when it comes to mentoring someone, or when it comes to providing advice, like, you
Hmm.
guys contacted me to do this podcast and I said yes, is because I'd rather invest my time in, in the future generations
Yeah.
than in other things. Like, again,
Yeah.
the economics, are in second or third place
Hmm.
to things that I can do right now to help younger generations get into different industries and get into technology and forge
Hmm.
ahead. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. I kind of closing off and transitioning to our end now. What is one key thing or one key takeaway from our conversation that you would tell maybe someone, just someone in general, who someone watching on YouTube right now? What would you say to them? And um, like, yeah, what would you say to them? I don't know. I was trying to keep adding, but what would you
Great.
say to them, and how would that, try to get them inspired?
Yeah, so if mostly students are going to watch this podcast, I am going to
Hmm.
say don't be afraid of innovation, of getting into complex industries, of doing things that you never thought you could, because it's all about getting organized, putting on the effort, the hard
Hmm.
work, and you'll go places. And honestly, you can
Hmm.
build something wonderful, not only just fulfilling, but also again, generational wealth and economic independence that will allow you to do even bigger and better things in the future. Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Carolina, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and your advice for us. I feel like your story is a big reminder that STEM isn't just about science; it's also about leadership, innovation. Creating opportunities, and there's stuff that's just beyond being a scientist, like in integrating business, something which is something I've never heard of. Your story is an opportunity for others to really learn and get people inspired. So just thank you for having you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Winston, for the great questions, and good luck. Good luck with this podcast.